ਵਿਰੋਧੀ ਧਿਰ ਨੇ ਸ਼ਬਦੀ ਹੱਲੇ ਅੱਗੇ ਰੱਖਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਓਟਾਵਾ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਹੁਣ 15 ਹੋਰ ਕੇਸ ਸਕੂਲਾਂ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਆਏ ਨੇ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਆਖਿਰ ਕੇ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਵੱਲੋਂ 30 ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਕਲਾਸ ਰੱਖੀ ਗਈ ਹੈ, ਜਿਸ ਨਾਲ ਕਲਾਸਰੂਮਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਡਿਸਟੈਂਸ ਰੱਖਣਾ ਅਸੰਭਵ ਹੈ। ਵਿਰੋਧੀ ਧਿਰ ਨੇ ਮੰਗ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਕਲਾਸਰੂਮ ਸਾਈਜ਼ ਘਟਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਕੁਝ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ। ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਨੇ ਸਾਫ਼ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਕਲਾਸ ਸਾਈਜ਼ ਘਟਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਅਧਿਆਪਕਾਂ ਸਮੇਤ ਬਾਕੀ ਮੁਲਾਜ਼ਮਾਂ ਦੀ ਭਰਤੀ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ।
Speaker, for a lot of parents, this has been a very anxious weekend, with COVID-19 cases on the rise again and serious concerns across Ontario about the government's school readiness plan. Last week, we saw hundreds of students in Ottawa kept home, and according to the government's own data reporting site, today we have 15 new cases in schools. I'm hearing from parents in all corners of this province who are alarmed that their children will be in classes as large as 30. So, Speaker, through you to the Premier, why has the government refused to fund the smaller, safer classrooms needed to keep our students safely distanced?
Minister of Education.
Well, thank you, Speaker, and thank you to the member opposite for the question. Mr. Speaker, on the contrary, this province and government has invested $1.3 billion in monies to flow to respond to this challenge and to ensure that our kids and to our staff remain safe. Speaker, in the context of classroom sizes, in Toronto District School Board, where the member hails, for context, in the more intensively staffed schools, and those communities with higher risk, for context, in kindergarten, they are capped, Speaker, to grade 3 at 15 students. From grades 4 to 8, they are capped at 20 students. In every region of this province, we are seeing net reductions in classroom sizes. We are seeing more distancing. We are seeing over 2,000 teachers being hired, according to estimates by the ministry. And, Mr. Speaker, we're seeing more custodians being hired, more public health nurses. We had 460 public health nurses in this province dedicated to schools. Under this government's leadership, more than 517 were hired as of today, and we are on track to hire 625, more than doubling capacity of those medical practitioners within our school. In every realm we lead, we will continue to be responsive to the risk and take further action to ensure all students are safe in this province.
Supplementary question. Again, the member for Davenport.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll point out to the minister that the TDSB dug into their own reserves to bring some of those schools to 15. Why won't you give the same thing to the rest of the students in this province? Speaker, the minister says that more funding for school preparedness is going to be available on an as-needed basis. But with families in Peel region and elsewhere pulling their children out of class by the thousands this weekend, it's more clear than ever that funding is needed now, not weeks or months from now. Speaker, parents, employers, communities don't want to wait and see who gets sick and hope for the best. They want the government to do everything possible right now to prevent the spread of COVID-19 before it's too late. Will the government finally treat this with the seriousness it deserves and flow the money needed to ensure smaller classes across this province, safer buses, and more student supports?
And ask all the members to make their remarks through the chair. Minister of Education to reply.
Thank you, Speaker, and thank you to the member opposite for the question. Let me affirm to this House what we are doing. 37 million pieces of PPE have been delivered to schools for the month of September, thanks to the leadership of Minister Thompson, for ensuring that we have a supply chain that continues to flow the products that we need to keep them safe. 517 more public health nurses have been hired as of today, more than doubling capacity of public health nurses within our school. Over 1,300 custodians expected to be hired through this process and more over the coming weeks. Over 2,500 educators are expected to be hired as a consequence of our aim to reduce classroom sizes and maximize distancing, Speaker. And we are the only province, and proudly, to have an asymptomatic testing regime that will focus on those higher risk communities. Mr. Speaker, we have unveiled $1.3 billion in funding available. To correct the member opposite, it's not just in Toronto District Catholic and public school boards that have reduced classroom sizes. In every single school board, they have taken action, provided by funding by the province, supported by the reserve funding, supported by the federal funding. We are all doing our part to ensure that classroom sizes could be reduced and ultimately our schools could be safe, Speaker.